Please rewind this cassette.
Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict 86. We're going to be talking about Todd Phillips, the auteur's Joker. I think an original movie that's not based off anything. So I'm only going to talk about movies this week that I give a shit about because it's my show and fuck you. Like, I don't want to talk about Good Boys. I don't want to talk about Judy and its box office. I don't care. The Peanut Butter Falcon, Angel Has Fallen. I've moved on, and you should move on too. I will say Toy Story 4 did pass Toy Story 3 worldwide and domestically, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is around 365 million worldwide. Looks like it should end up at 140 mil domestic, probably 370, 375 worldwide. I don't think it'll crack 400 million, unless it hasn't opened somewhere yet, and I don't know. So let's skip the stuff I don't care about and get right to what I do want to talk about. And in particular, I want to talk about It Chapter 2, Rambo, Downton Abbey, and Joker. So Rambo Last Blood, I did not get to cover this yet. Disappointing opening of $18 million. And I say disappointing because if you go back and look, God, a long time ago, over a decade ago now it's been? Yeah, when Rambo came out, it opened to 18 million and made 42 mil domestic at 113 million dollars worldwide and had a 50 million dollar budget in 2008. Now this is fucking weird, right? Because Rocky Balboa came out and did pretty well. It made 150 million worldwide. Now, I guess you could just say that the Rocky franchise has held up over the years and people rewatched it more than they did the Rambo series. I still think there's a lot of First Blood fans, but I don't know how many people actually go back and watch Rambo 2 and 3. Where in my life, just in an anecdotal level, everybody I know watches the Rocky movies, or at least every other person I know, and they don't just watch Rocky. They watch Rocky 2, 3, 4, 5, and watch Rocky Balboa, which is crazy because now that you think about it, with Creed and Creed 2, the Rocky franchise keeps going. They have two new Rocky movies that both did very well, where Rambo has seemed to have struggled ever since the second Rambo movie, which was one of the biggest hits the years it came out. I think it and Rocky 4 both came out in 1985, and they both made 300 million. Here's another weird comparison, all right? $18 million opening weekend in 2008. Here we are 11 years later with Last Blood, which is a badass title, by the way. Same kind of reviews, like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rambo didn't get good reviews. Same budget of 50 fucking million in the same opening weekend. So worldwide, that made 113. This is at 39. I think it's going to make a little bit more domestically than Rambo, but unadjusted for ticket price, that would have made a lot more money now. So if this ends up at like 120 million worldwide, it's going to be very funny that it essentially performed exactly the same as Rambo. Now, did we need Last Blood? You know, a going back to basics story. This is Rambo versus people again, like attacking him like in the first movie, not like where he goes out to find danger. In this one, it's more stealth oriented, at least in the trailers. Now, you know, in the first film, he goes to that small town, gets abused by the police, and then they're coming after him, but he is visiting that area. This is Rambo's home, which we see him go to. I believe this has to be the same location, back to his farm at the end of Rambo, which I thought was a perfect ending for the series. He deserved a happy ending. You know, when you think about it, the first movie, he's a wanderer, the Vietnam vet, he's got PTSD, and this fucked up thing happens to him, and it turns into an action movie. And then the other movie is an action film, Rambo, and then ends with him walking off, no longer a wanderer. He has a home. He's going home. So I always thought that was the proper way to end it. Although there were rumors for a while that there was going to be a Rambo 5 where Rambo fought like a mutated monster creature, which sounds like the best fucking movie idea ever. Like, holy shit. Like Rambo versus the Wolfman or something. I mean, the possibilities are endless. This is like Ash with Evil Dead. Like, he can fight whatever the fuck he wants. I don't care. If Rambo fights vampires, he joins up with the Scooby-Doo gang for an adventure. I'm all about it. I'm balls deep. Let's go. I mean, if you don't appreciate the artistic merit of that movie, you are a Philistine. Judy, don't care. It Chapter 2, the disappointment financially has been solidified at this point. This will not reach the 700 million of the first film, and it will certainly not reach the domestic total of 327 million. $91 million opening weekend was very good. Word of mouth is not strong on this film. $202 million domestic. No, don't get me wrong. This film cost 60, 70 million. I think it cost like 75 million to make. I've read different estimates and stuff from different sources, but let's just say 75 million, right? This is a hit movie. A $75 million movie making $436 million worldwide is not a bomb, and this should make $500 million worldwide, which is what I thought going into the opening weekend originally when I did that episode of Box Office Addict. So I have to say, like, yeah, this isn't a bomb, but they left money on the table. This could have made $800 million, if not more. This could have at least made around the total of the first film, and I think they fucked up big time here. I think the runtime was a mistake. I think Muschietti had too much control. Just all sorts of problems here from the get-go, and they paid for it by leaving money on the table. Like I said, this isn't the era where this is good enough. Like, it was good enough because it was a horror movie and that it cost $35 million, and then it made those blockbuster numbers. So that really was a statement to Disney, like, hey, we made this R-rated film on this budget and it made this much money. We have a franchise now. This right here is like, you know, when you think about how well all the Disney movies have done this year, how many of them have made $1 billion, this just doesn't look good now by comparison. This isn't like a bragging right for WB. They can't be like, well, look how well Chapter 2 did. It's like, well, we knew it was going to do well, but it didn't blow anything out of the water, didn't exceed expectations. That's where the disappointment kicks in. You know, these are numbers that if the first movie would have made, everyone would have been like, wow, great. But because the first movie did so well, the expectation, and you can't say that it wasn't hype or that it couldn't have made that money, because clearly the hype was there. The opening weekend wasn't that much lower. The opening weekend was only about $20 million, where, you know, less, where the other, when you look at the separation between the final totals, is much larger. So that's a word of mouth thing, and it hasn't been holding well. I mean, I think the 48% drop is one of the better holds it's had. And maybe it was release date. Maybe they should have released this closer to October, but it feels like Joker had the momentum going all year. Hustler, starring J-Lo and her ass, has made 91 mil domestic. What a surprise hit this turned out to be. Critically acclaimed, box office success. Was not expecting this. Let's talk about Downton Abbey. I really want to talk about this. This was money that would have been left on the table. If this would have just streamed or been on television, you know, if this would have just been presented in that format, this is a big moment. This really makes a good argument for the Sopranos prequel movie and releasing it theatrically. This makes a good argument coming off Deadwood that maybe Deadwood could have been released in theaters. Now, I do think it is specific to the genre that Downton Abbey is in. But at the same time, you got to look at this like a $31 million opening weekend. This is the biggest opening for Focus Features. 73 mil domestic and $135 million worldwide. There's no way they haven't made their money back on this. The movie got positive reviews. This just shows that you can really take those TV shows and do a film. It's weird. It's like instead of taking a movie and turning into a TV series, there's something now where I think these big shows that become binge watch shows, Stranger Things even, it's like, is that going to end on with like a movie? And they don't want to release it in theaters. They want to keep it on their platform, but they still make the profit from the theatrical release. It's like Netflix with The Irishman. It's like, you know, I think they should have went wide with that, let it make money, and then just put it on Netflix and keep making money. Yeah, it takes away exclusivity, but at the same time, like, why not make that extra money? And then you're always going to be making money. What does it matter if it's on your platform? I guess they think people are going to come to the platform for that, but they would anyway after its theatrical release. You're basically there to kill the home video market. Trying to kill the theatrical market, it isn't dead yet. There's still money to be made. These movies are making money, so I think they're just in too much of a rush to get there, and this is a fine example of that, because I don't think a lot of people would have thought this was going to make this much money. and that it's still making money. I mean, it's not done yet. This should be able to make over $80 million. I would say 90 million's even very possible. And who knows where it could end up worldwide? Maybe 200 million. I don't know what the budget on this was. I'm assuming it was like 20 something $million. I'm going to say $25 million. But good for them. Before we get to Joker, let's see if there's anything I missed. No, none of this is stuff I care about. Or it's just there's no reason to, like Spider-Man Far From Home. It's done, it's made its money, there's nothing more to add. Ooh, Pedro Moldovar's new film, Pain and Glory. Like him. Oh, it's already made 28 million worldwide. Good for him. Let's see where Scary Stories ended up worldwide. 94 million. And yeah, that's all I care about right now. All right, let's talk about Joker. This is a big moment for WB, and I even think this is bigger than the moment with Aquaman, which became Marvel level numbers, 1.1 billion, and Wonder Woman, which did very well. But Aquaman's really like right now the benchmark to look at because it's the highest grossing film they've ever done. Even more so than highest grossing superhero film, at least. Because Warner Brothers did do Harry Potter, and the Harry Potter movie, Deathly Hallows Part 2, made more money than that. But this is, I think, more important because of this being rated R, the controversy that went around it, the budget, that this is a movie that only costs like $55 million, that it's an Elseworlds tale, that it doesn't tie into a continuity, that it's its own separate side story. All of that, and it made money. Now, this is the Joker. And my friend asked me months ago, it was I thought a rather dumb question. He said, do you think this movie would make money? He always asked me financial questions like with movies. And he's like, do you think that'll make money? And I'm like, yeah, of course it's the Joker. He's like, yeah, but a lot of money. I'm like, yes. I'm like, no movie with the Joker has bombed. Batman 89 was huge and was the biggest Batman film for years. What was the next big Batman movie? Dark Knight. Years go by. Suicide Squad comes out. This movie is panned across the board. Still makes $750 million worldwide, with the Joker in it and Harley Quinn, who were heavily marketed and have been regular couples going in cosplay costumes for years now at Comic-Cons and so on. That movie made money in a big way, even though he was barely in it, from the Joker and Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn comes from the Joker. I mean, Harley Quinn wouldn't exist if the Joker didn't exist. Paul Dini wouldn't have had that idea. Or it would have been so different we wouldn't think of it the same way. So, of course it makes money. The Joker is as popular as any superhero. And he always has been. I'm a little burned out on him, honestly, for that reason. I think he's just... I feel like I've gotten enough Joker, and it's hard for people to do something with him that I haven't seen before. So Todd Phillips was influenced by Scorsese here. Clearly, Taxi Driver, and even more so King of Comedy. And the Robert De Niro connection is in there. Joaquin Phoenix, one of my favorite actors working, is in the lead role. So where did the controversy come from with this movie? There was some talk when it premiered at Venice about that it was a movie for incels. It was a movie for basement dwellers, for men to go out and rage and attack. And it was hyper political in the era of Trump. Now, here's a weird connection with the Taxi Driver thing. I've often compared Taxi Driver to Catcher in the Rye and Travis Bickle to Holden Caulfield, especially how you get in the characters' heads and their internal struggles and their delusions, how delusional they are about things. The reality they see is actually just so off, and there's this tragedy sort of building, but you still empathize with them because there's something unique about the way they think, their point of view, and the way that it's written, the dialogue or the prose in Catcher in the Rye is really appealing. Now, here's the funny thing, right? Mark David Chapman shooting John Lennon and having the Catcher in the Rye and saying it was his confession. And there's that whole monologue in 6 Degrees of Separation about this. Now, if I make this connection in my head, I believe also the guy who attempted to kill Ronald Reagan and shot to go shoot him did that for Jodie Foster and was inspired by Taxi Driver. So if you look at Taxi Driver with that connection to Catcher in the Rye and these men who did go out and shoot people in relation to these films and these types of stories and how they do connect to a certain toxic side of masculinity, I can see the Joker thing with the fear that there could be a reaction. But the thing with that, here's the problem with that though. Overanalyzing it, me looking at that, that's true for anything. The same with Helter Skelter and Charles Manson. A book, a movie, a television show, any of it. It's true for anything. It doesn't fucking matter. A crazy person gets inspired by something to go do something crazy. Something was going to inspire them at some point. That individual piece of media wasn't the thing. If it wasn't something from real life, it was going to be something fictional. And especially probably something fictional because this person can't tell the difference between make-believe and reality. But the media perpetuated this so goddamn much. This became such a fucking thing that there was going to be shootings at Joker. And this all had to do with The Dark Knight Rises. And that was all just misconstrued, that all had to do with this guy being obsessed with the Joker. So everybody was scared because of mass shootings these days and the political climate we're in, that somebody was going to get killed at a screening for Joker, or there was going to be riots in the streets. People were going to have a visceral and then a physical reaction to this. People were going to go out and rally. None of that happened as of so far. The movie made money. Reviews went from highly positive to mixed, and it's weird. Most of that happened after the controversy, but even on Red Letter Media, who once again did the best fucking review of something, because they always do. Even that part with Martin Scorsese, like where Jay's like being right about everything. So my opinions overall, though, let me just say this, is that I could see how a reviewer trying to analyze the film would try to find something in there with subtext and try to connect it to the real world. But at the same time, it felt like very much so to a lot of us that the media wanted this to happen. They pushed it so much that it became uncomfortable, that that their mouths were watering to have this story become a reality. And it couldn't have worked out better for Warner Brothers. The movie opened better because of it. 100% guaranteed. I think they added $20 million to this opening weekend at least from the controversy, if not more. The reviews helped, but I think that this was that last push you needed for a really big opening. I mean, this is basically a $100 million opening. It's $96 million. But they thought it was 93. That was the original estimate, so it went up. $248 million worldwide for a $55 million movie. Even if this has steep drops, this is still a huge opening, and it's the biggest opening of Todd Phillips' career, even more so than The Hangover and The Hangover 2, which were very big movies. And you know, it's weird because this is a different movie for Todd Phillips. You know, this is the guy who did Road Trip and Starsky and Hutch, which are movies I actually like quite a bit. This is a major comeback for Joaquin Phoenix, who has mainly just been an independent or art house cinema over the last few years. He used to be a very mainstream actor. I mean, he was in Gladiator and Signs. People knew who this guy was. He wasn't a B-tier actor. He was an A-lister. And this is a big return for him. And they wanted him for, I believe, Bruce Banner in Marvel, which I actually think he would have been absolutely wonderful as Bruce Banner. And then I also think they wanted him for Doctor Strange at one point, and he turned those roles down. By the way, Joaquin Phoenix and Her is just... Oh, why didn't that movie make more money? It was so good. I thought that movie would make more money. But they wanted bad things to happen, which just shows how disgusting the media is. That they report on these things and then talk about how tragic it is, and then they try to create tragedies just to get that news cycle continuing, just to get people to watch them, just to get people to read their shitty fucking articles. It's egregious. But it helped Warner Brothers. You could even say that Warner Brothers played into this controversy or added to it. Who knows if they didn't help create this on some level. What was the origin of this whole Joker, thing? When did it start to take off? So they're also suspect in this. Was Warner Brothers part of this? And people are like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's that crazy to think that they tried to create hype through any means necessary. So here we are with this huge opening. The movie is a lock for $500 million worldwide, but it should make more than that. And now this makes the good argument that DC could make spin-off Elseworld tales. They could make stories that don't relate to a main series continuity. And I would argue they should just drop a main series continuity. I don't think Wonder Woman and Aquaman should have their own movie, like their own tied together movies. I think they should stop with the Justice League. I think the smartest decision for them is to, hire a filmmaker, give them a modest budget, and let them tell their story in a universe with that character. And it should probably always make money. It's always going to make, like, I think, I mean, they took a hit with Shazam. Shazam did underperform, but Shazam was still trying to sort of play in the tradition of superhero movies. This film didn't really market itself as a superhero movie. It sold itself off the kind of like this taxi driver thing. I mean, that's what it was sold as, and keeping it grittier and restrained. I think people are just attracted to that. The Joker's story is very appealing. Anarchy is very appealing to people. So the whole controversy thing, it just helped. This couldn't have worked out better for Warner Brothers. Everything went their way. Getting that early hype at Venice, winning the Golden Lion, getting Phoenix involved, and him come back as a movie star, hype building over the months, controversy coming in right before release. That's a great thing. Opening in October, everything just went well for them. All across the board. I mean, this was a total win for them, and I have to credit the producers on this and Todd Phillips on this, because they had a vision, and whether you like the film or not, and people do seem mixed on it, they executed that vision and it was successful. And Box Office Addict is about the numbers, and the numbers here are very good. So I do think people are probably going to read too much into this film and this opening, and I think it's going to be the most overhyped thing one of the most overhyped things of the year. And I think we're going to move on from it very quickly. But it is an interesting look, if maybe not the movie itself, even though it's attempting to do these things, the reaction to this movie and all of that surrounding it, and all these articles, and what we were reading on Twitter and so on, or reading certain reviews from critics. This is a good insight into the time that we live in, and the political climate, and where reviewers are held, and the internet versus the mainstream media. This is a very good time capsule. This is a good capturing of the zeitgeist right now, of that moment, of how those things are happening. So in that sense, it probably does connect with more of the, what they would call the young internet savvy male. But I think this film probably did well with women. I think they're ignoring women, acting like women don't like the Joker, wouldn't go see this movie, which I don't think is true at all. Or that it's all about, I don't know, that it's that simple, that things are that simple. It simplifies really complex things going on right now, and mental health issues in this country right now. It's people are treating it so simplistically, like this movie is everything. Or like 13 Reasons Why is fucking awful. It's like the worst thing I've ever seen. But I remember everybody had to make a point that it was the worst thing because it was popular. And it's just like, yeah, why are we at this point where we're giving so much credence to these things? Even though, people like Mark David Chapman said a book, but really it's just because he was fucking crazy. You can't blame the book. The book is not the reason. So from a box office standpoint, financially, this is a mega win for WB. This is a nice kickback to what Disney's been doing, and shows that you can release different things in the marketplace. All the superhero films or genre films like this have been doing well over the last several years. Venom made $800 million. But this is, I don't know, there's something special about this, and I hope that it leads to great movies. I really want great films to come out of this studio in comic book films that I've been wanting for a long time, and I hope we get stuff that is close. Like what The Boys is doing now, and how successful The Boys was, and how everyone loved it. I think WB needs to lean on that quick. You're over the Snyderverse. It's time to reinvent yourself and let these directors make their films. James Wan, he deserved to get freedom on Aquaman after his previous successes. Todd Phillips has had some success. It's time to like just let a filmmaker roll with it like he did with Nolan. You just let Nolan do what he wanted to with Batman for a few movies and everybody loved it. Just let people do what they want to do with these characters. Don't try to have the DCEU. Leave the fucking connected universe out of it. And be willing to do stuff within different genres. Really commit to those different genres, not half tease them like Marvel does with their movies. And yeah, R ratings, how it worked out for Deadpool and Logan, make R-rated stuff. Not every movie, obviously. You don't have to make everything rated R, but I think a lot of us would like an R-rated Batman movie, and I think it would make a lot of fucking money. And I don't think you have to make a Batman movie for $200 million. I think you could make a Batman movie for a lot less than that that's really good. So, I'm very happy for Joaquin Phoenix. I'll just say that. This is his biggest movie in a long time. Like, let's see, since Walk the Line, really. Forgot about Walk the Line, too. That was a big hit, too. So, yeah, there was a point there. Yeah, he had a very... Yeah, he was in Gladiator, and then Signs and The Village all did very well. Walk the Line was a huge hit. He was very acclaimed for his performance in that. And then, he had his rough patch. But he's back. We'll look at Good Boys real quick just to see where it ended up worldwide. 107 million. Let me double check the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Maybe it updated. 363 million. That did well. Very expensive though. Like I said, Toy Story 4 passed Toy Story 3. Let's see where Men in Black's at. 253 million. So that was a fucking disaster. But see, everyone asks me, are you going to review The Joker? Are you going to see The Joker? Are you going to talk about that? It's kind of pointless. I don't need to see a movie to shoot people. I shoot people without seeing movies. So this would just be a waste of my time. But I will talk about its box office. And this is one of the biggest successes of the year so far. So tell me what you think. What do you think about the box office, Manly? What do you think the final total will be? And how much do you think the recent controversy or this made-up controversy, really you could say a lack thereof, but it had a presence, affected the box office? Do you think this movie performed better because of that? And what do you think about the critical analysis with this film? There's a lot to unpack here. It's like too much for a short box office addict. This really should have been a live stream. There's too much to talk about with this movie and its opening weekend. Hopefully, as the weekends go on, each new episode of Box Office Addict, I can add a little bit more to that. But that's all I'm going to give you for right now. But the story of the weekend is Joker plays a very good hand, and WB is... it's funny. It seemed like they were sinking there. I mean, God, Justice League was such a bomb. And, they had the first Harry Potter film that didn't do well. And then somehow WB always finds this way to bounce back. Like It Chapter 2 underperforms, and then this comes in and performs at the highest expectations that it had. Warner Brothers is a studio like that. They always find a way to bounce back because some of the IPs that they have are just too strong. To have the DC universe, to have Harry Potter, to get stuff like, to have It, that sometimes when they release something, it's just the brand name is so strong that if you do something a little different with it, or it's something people have been wanting for a long time. I think people have been wanting a solo Joker film for a long time, just like they wanted a big budget version of It. Then they can capitalize on that. And I don't think Disney's going anywhere running dry. I think they're still winning by far. But Warner Brothers isn't done yet. They had their best year last year. And I think Sony or Universal, who have very successful movies like the Jurassic World franchise, I don't know if they're as smart as WB. I think Warner Brothers in general has been a very good studio their whole run. And I still think they do very good releases that sort of make up for their lackluster performers. Something like this is going to make so much money that they can afford the disappointments that come and go. But I'll see you guys for episode 87. Thank you for watching.